Why don't we get into things? For those of you who may not be familiar with me, although I think most are, I'm Jax Gaspari. I'm the Director of Member Services for the Community Power Coalition in New Hampshire. And today we have our newly appointed Executive Director, Henry Herndon, available for discussion with our membership. And he'll be covering a brief presentation discussing some of the key strategic priorities in the short and the medium term. So I'll be pulling up slides momentarily, but with that, I will turn it over to Henry to make some remarks.
Thanks, Jackson. Nice to see you all. And yeah, I'm very pleased and honored to accept the board's offer of the position of executive director and chief executive for the organization, and excited that, it really feels as though CPCNH is entering into a period of positive momentum. It's nice that feels like a little bit of a spring day today. Today's the spring equinox. We're seeing the snow melt, and I think it's a good point in time to close a chapter and open a new chapter for the coalition. And yeah, very excited to reaffirm my personal commitment to the organization and to our member towns. And on behalf of the organization, affirm our coalition's commitment to the members and the customers. We have a really exciting vision for the state's energy future, one that is, better energy future, an energy system more rooted in local control and in serving community interests, building a more New Hampshire-centric energy system that works for our cities and towns and customers. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. It's a time of positive momentum. And I'll just reflect briefly. I was appointed to the interim role effective March 1st, 2025. And it's been a good full year of experience and training and feeling very excited for this new chapter and applying all of the good lessons that we've learned together towards continual improvement for the organization. I also just want to note that, staff are all working very effectively in executing across operations, across member services, across regulatory and legislative affairs. Really grateful for the staff team, their leadership, the positive energy and attitude that we have at a staff level. It's a lot of work, and everyone's really committed and dedicated. So I feel privileged to work with the team, with the members, and we're excited to grow that team. So one of the key priorities we'll talk about is deepening the staff capacity with a couple of key hires, and among other things of our strategic priorities. So it's an exciting time for the organization, and excited to step into this new chapter of positive momentum and to continue to work with this fantastic community. So with that, we'll get into just a quick overview of the short-term strategic priorities and then some of the medium to long-term, and then looking forward to some discussion with the group. Okay. So in terms of strategic priorities, we'll just have kind of two quick slides to paint a picture of our short and medium long term. And then from there, we can move into discussion. But broadly speaking, right now we're very focused on increasing CPCNH competitiveness, stabilizing our portfolio and our membership, and building our internal capacity. And I'll sort of walk through what the next several months look like, what spring 2026 looks like throughout the remainder of quarters 1 and 2, and heading into the latter part of the year before we zoom out a little bit and look out over the next couple of years. So first and foremost, some of our priorities include investments in capacity and power operations. So we're in process of renewing our agreement with our portfolio manager. That's planned to be a 12-month renewal. And we're also in process of finalizing interviews and selection for a new hire, senior hire, director of power operations. And with that added capacity, the staff team is going to be taking time in quarters 2, 3, and 4 to really evaluate our power operations department, assess it, and consider possible restructuring by either bringing more capacity in-house or assessing really the landscape of potential service providers that may be able to add value for our core business function. So that's a priority, making that hire, renewing that agreement, and then assessing and evaluating the department for possible restructure moving forward. Simultaneously, the other key hire we're going to be making is a finance director, and excited to specialize professional responsibility at a staff level for financial management and oversight, and really provide support for our board treasurer and our board as a whole in the governance and oversight role. We have a really fantastic treasurer with Kathleen Kelly. She's doing yeoman's work, and it's been, fantastic working with her over the past year. And I've been glad to work with her in developing a position description and looking forward to promoting that through various networks to get some more internal staff capacity on the finance side to support the treasurer and the board. Other priorities, we hope this group will be attending our annual membership meeting. We're in process on risk and financial audits. CPCNH has a requirement that every 2 years we conduct an independent. Jackson, I'm finding the light a little distracting, if you don't mind. Uh, Thanks. So we're in process on an independent audit of our risk management policy and practice. We have a great firm, the Energy Authority, who's been leading that, and we'll have a presentation at the annual membership meeting on the results of that audit and assessment of our risk management framework and some suggestions for refining and improving. And just sort of a light preview of that, there's two components. One was an independent evaluation of our 24-25 winter draw, which we as an organization did a lot of work over 2025 to understand our risk management policy and practice and to make certain improvements. And it's good to get some affirmation of some of our learnings from that independent assessment. Simultaneously, the firm has looked at our risk policy framework and found that it is a good framework. It is a strong framework. And then they've made some suggestions on refining and improving that, how we can take it to even the next level. So hope folks will attend the membership meeting and we'll distribute those reports as well. Simultaneously, we have, of course, 2025 audited financials that we will be presenting, and our external auditors are in process on that. The membership meeting is also going to cover some essential board and member trainings. We'll revisit our conflict of interest policy. We'll revisit a right to know training, and we will preview a media training. We definitely want to work with all of our members to do a media training to support you in receiving inquiries from members of the press and/or engaging with your local media. So there's resources at CPCNH to support you, and we'll be hosting a training with our staff and some of our service providers on that. So stay tuned. And then finally, a topic that is going to be addressed at the annual membership meeting, but it's something that sort of broadly fits with our short-term priorities, is just assessing, understanding, and reacting to the competitive energy landscape. So we're in a period, energy markets, they're dynamic, they change. And we're in a period we're observing a period of shift in a number of ways. One of the main issues we've been monitoring is the utility proxy rate methodology, by which utilities have moved into a spot market method for procuring power as opposed to fixed price contracts, and some of the questions that has raised with regard to cost allocation, potential cost shifting, where there had been proposals to move supply costs into poles and wires charges that fortunately were not implemented. And then there's other questions about when utility rates don't fully reflect their costs, or if there are under collections that are carried as balances for addition to future rates, what's the right way to address that? And there will actually be a hearing on a relevant bill, House Bill 1733, which would put into law a prohibition on moving supply costs into distribution charges or stranded cost charges on electric bills, while also requiring utilities return to fixed price contracts for their residential and small customer groups. There's a hearing on that Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. In the Senate, and maybe when we get to the discussion, we could unpack that topic further. Other items in the competitive landscape, DAISY. We'll talk more about this at the membership meeting and broadly, but this Day Ahead Ancillary Services Initiative, some of you have likely heard us discuss this. It is a new ancillaries market with ISO New England. The ISO launched this market in March of last year and forecast that it would add $140 million in cost to the regional electricity market. 11 months later, the actual cost came in at between $900 million and $1 billion. So significant added cost relative to original forecasts. And this week, actually, Governor Ayotte, was proactive in issuing a press release and garnering some press coverage on this very issue. So it's something that CPCNH is experiencing, all utilities and suppliers in the market are experiencing, and ultimately it's affecting all customers by creating this additional cost and, you know, uh, moving money from customers into generators as a result. So that's something that we're focused on, as is the governor, as are a number of suppliers, and we're going to continue to monitor and perhaps work with partners as that develops further. We're looking at other items within our portfolio and the competitive landscape. The Risk Management Committee is considering ways we can improve value for customers. And yeah, welcome to discuss that more as we get to Q&A. Looking out a little bit further, there's some other, operational contracts that they come to term, and we periodically review, renew, or solicit for these services. So we're actively looking at some of those items. General counsel, accounting, load serving entity, these are key partners that we work with, and we'll be looking at those contracts as we move into the future. Um, Additionally, getting into the late spring and then planning for Q3 and 4 and into the future, we're always planning to manage town launches and refresh enrollments, and we will be managing the return of a couple of towns, the town of Hudson and the town of Bow, as they return to utility default service. So these are projects that the member service team is leading and that we will be executing in the coming months and year. We do have, I believe it is 10 cities and towns that have approved or are in process of approving electric aggregation plans and are looking forward to an opportune time to bring their community power programs online. So that's another thing that we are looking forward to in the coming year and years to come. And then I think critical for the membership and the board and our committees is, attention and planning towards our upcoming procurements and assessing our range of rate options going into the next period. So we're very focused at a staff level on ensuring the risk management committee, the finance committee, the board, and the members have good time to weigh their range of rate options, balancing our reserve accumulation towards our targets and our competitiveness in the market relative to utilities and other providers. And of course, this range of rate options and this balancing is also then related to the competitive landscape and related to utility proxy rate methods and the extent to which prior losses are, reconciled back into utility rates for the next period or for a future period. So these are dynamics that we're working hard on to ensure good information and options for committee consideration and ultimately board action. So I think that will also perhaps feed into some discussion at the annual membership meeting. And we hope to continue those discussions with all of the members as we work together towards that next big decision. And then finally, just want to highlight, we're very excited for Poverty Plains, our 5 MW solar project in Warner, New Hampshire, to go live this summer. And, we're implementing that project by setting up the group and, ensuring that it's eligible for renewable energy credit production and the like. So stay tuned for a potential event for a go live on that project. So that's sort of a picture of our short-term immediate priorities, and then we'll zoom out just a little bit and we'll think about medium to long term for the next couple of years. And really, this is a trajectory that's sort of been a part of our business plan for some time, but the focus being evolving the power agency into, a robust agency and a full range of services and value for the members. So if we look to the left, the sort of blue area is what we've discussed. We're, increasing our competitiveness. We're building internal staff capacity, and we're investing in our power operations department. And as we move into 2027, I think our focus is about de-risking or managing our risks. And there's a number of ways we can do that. We have targets for diversifying our credit support and our trading counterparties, the entities that we trade power and contracts with. So those will be priorities in 2027, as well as continue to advance policy reforms. I know there's been some great content, and there will be more content in these office hours on some of our legislative session policy updates, but focusing on New Hampshire Energy Forward and our organization's leadership in supporting the state to better recognize local energy resources for their value, recognize distributed energy resources. When we enable New Hampshire-based energy assets, they create value. They reduce our reliance on wholesale energy, wholesale capacity, on interstate transmission networks. There are real dollar values associated with these resources if we can correctly advance policy reforms and align the state market landscape to recognize that value for New Hampshire customers. So it's an ongoing part of our strategy, and I think it is a focus in 2026 and will remain a focus going into 2027. Looking out a little bit further, as we get into 2028, we start to think more about how does the organization become strategically independent and how do we evolve further. And what we mean by that, we have some really great partners and counterparties as a newer organization that we rely on for certain services, things like direct market participation in the wholesale market in the ISO New England marketplace, serving as our load serving entity. But as we build other reserves, as we diversify our credit and counterparties, we can, become the organization that can self-register, have sufficient collateral to meet the requirements of that market, and there are cost efficiencies and other things that can come with participating more directly with ISO New England as we, round out our power operations department as well. And from there, whether it's wholesale projects that are in the ISO New England or whether it is local New Hampshire-based projects enabled through NH Energy Forward, really focusing on developing a portfolio of energy storage or generation assets. This will be the coalition's source of competitive advantage for the long term. The extent that we are able to have dispatchable local energy storage or power generation, we can use that power to, or we can use a battery, for example, to dispatch during our morning peak, charge up during the sunny hours when prices fall and the sun is out and demand drops, and then dispatch again during our evening peak when we incur higher costs. When we have assets like that in the portfolio, that will enhance value for customers, that will enhance our competitiveness as an organization for the long term. And along those same lines of thinking, scaling load management programs. So over the course of 2026 and 2027, starting to think through and pilot curtailment or load management programs. So we're in a position to scale those programs getting into 2028, so we can really engage customers and deploy customer-based resources or opportunities to better create value in the portfolio by better aligning our electricity demand with our supply needs on the wholesale side. So that's the big picture. That's how we're looking at it over the next couple of years. And yeah, again, it's an exciting time for the organization, and I do feel strongly that we're moving in this period of positive momentum, and looking forward to many years of success for the organization. So happy to pause and happy to chat with you all about topics I've talked about here or topics I haven't, and have a discussion. But thank you all for joining.
All right, at this point, yeah, happy to take any questions or comments folks have.
And Jackson, I would just suggest maybe dropping the share so we can see folks a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay, so since nobody else has asked any questions yet, I'll jump in. This is Ken Traum from Hopkinton. Henry, you mentioned about Daisy. Now, will Daisy impact the utilities default customers comparably to ours?
Yes, that is a good question, and it will. Utilities for their large customer group, the large commercial group, they're on 100% spot market exposure, and they have full exposure to the daisy charge as well. For the small group and the residential, they have this 50% load following or fixed price and 50% spot market. And for that 50% that is load following or fixed price, I don't know that Daisy is covered in the fixed price or not. It may be that the Daisy charge is they are insulated from 50% of Daisy on the small customer side because of that fixed price contract. It may be that that fixed price contract has a clause in it that would allow for a Daisy pass through. Somebody else might know the answer to this, but it's a question of how they're structured that 50% fixed price contract with regards to Daisy.
Great.
Yeah, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, okay. See if I can word this correctly, but for the upcoming rate, do the default suppliers or Eversource or whatever, do they have to include in their upcoming rate undercharges that they may have had during the last period here?
Yes and no. They don't there is no firm law or requirement that sets a time limit on when they have to recover those losses. So Liberty Utilities currently is announcing raising its rate mid-period this period to partially recover losses from 2024 through summer 2025. So we're talking about 12 plus month aged losses that are being partially recovered in current and future Liberty rates. So there is uncertainty with regard to, let's say, Eversource under collections for 2025. We know that this winter and this January was particularly expensive in the real-time and day-ahead market and the ancillaries market. And we can expect there to be some under collections for utilities based on their rates associated with that. Whether January under collections and Eversource's rates will show up in August through next January rates is uncertain. And I think it is unlikely that the utilities or the regulators will propose recovering those losses in full.
Do you, Henry, to add on to that, I think that's a good answer. Do you want to speak to the importance of 1733 in that regard and how, you just mentioned there isn't a set timeline or parameters around recovery and how this bill that's going to the Senate would address that?
Yeah, so that bill does a couple of things. One, it does set the timeline. It says under prior period under collections must be reconciled in the next two rate periods. So they give them like a 12-month period to recover losses from prior rate periods. The bill also prohibits moving supply cost losses into the delivery side of the bill or stranded cost charges. And then the bill also requires they go on to fixed price contracts. So that bill will be heard starting 9 a.m. in the Senate on Tuesday. And folks are encouraged to contact their senators to, make them aware of it and understand that, basically this is a bill to address cost shifting. It's addressing cost shifting from the supply rates into the distribution rates, and it's addressing cost shifting from spot market, where the utilities proxy rate, if it doesn't reflect the cost of supply, and we've seen that it is more likely than not to fully cover supply costs. Two of the utilities have testified to that, it being more likely than not to not fully recover supply costs. Anyway, this cost shifting from utility proxy rates not reflecting costs is addressed by this bill under consideration. And in talking to your senators, helping them understand it's important for a competitive market to function if it by having accurate price signals so customers can compare accurately between their rate options and so that costs aren't shifted into other charges or into future charges.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that, Henry. And just to note that there is a blog article about this available through our website if you want to learn more. Nick put that in the chat. And we will be sending an action alert out today to our subscriber list, which has more details and will make it fairly easy to pull language from when contacting your senator. So be on the lookout for that. I do see a couple other hands up. I believe, Paul, you were first.
Yeah. So I have two questions or two areas of question. One was the issues that are in front of the legislature related to RECs, and the second part of that is not part of it, but second question is really around net metering, time of day use, and smart meters. Do we see that in our horizon at all?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm going to probably try to refer these to Dina, but I'll take a short stab at it. I'll refer the first question to Dina, but the second one, and Dina can elaborate on this. We did work closely with Unitil, and we supported and signed on to a settlement agreement with Unitil in their distribution case, where Unitil has been forward-looking with regards to data access and these questions of load settlement to better enable customers to create value with distributed energy and to better enable suppliers like CPCNH to work with customers to recognize the value of time of use rates of local solar, things of this nature. But Dina, if you don't mind, maybe you could elaborate or speak to this and correct anything I might have misstated.
Thank you. I don't know who asked the question, but could you please repeat it?
Yeah, I was wondering if initially we thought that we would have net metering and time of day use and maybe moving towards smart metering, but I don't hear much about it any longer. And the other side of the question was the legislature is considering getting rid of renewable energy credits. And does anybody have a crystal ball on that?
Sure. To answer the second question, there are a number of bills that would seek to alter, weaken the RPS either directly or through the REC program or the alternative compliance. Many of those bills have been amended that are perhaps less problematic, but still warranting some concern. House Bill 1721 was put on the table by the House, and because of the deadline of crossover, it's essentially dead. Could it come back in some form? Yes, there's always that chance, but I think it's promising that there are members of the legislature, including some Republicans, especially in like biomass areas and districts, that see, concern for the market, the broader market on this. So there's still a couple of other bills in play. House Bill 1542, I believe that just got another amendment in Ways and Means that I admit I haven't had a chance to fully review yet, but that's going on the House floor this coming Thursday. And then House Bill 219, which does a number of things, but it gets rid of Class 2, but then puts some of it into Class 1, but also slightly reduces Class 1, and it does a couple of other things. That bill was just heard in the Senate yesterday. And most of the speakers or the testifiers were in opposition. And again, like highlighting those risks and impacts to the market. Then on the other hand, there's some other bills like House Bill 1535, which is going to be heard in the Senate Energy Committee this coming Tuesday, along with the other bill that Henry mentioned, House Bill 1733. That bill would actually, it would do something really simple, but add a comma into the statute. But this is important so that certain facilities like landfill, waste to energy facilities can qualify for RECs in New Hampshire. Right now, the Department of Energy has chosen to interpret it as, they only qualify for thermal RECs, but not for electric RECs. And that has prevented some, at least one, I think the Lebanon landfill gas to energy project from qualifying for New Hampshire recs. And as a result, they had to register for Rhode Island recs. And it's just a missed opportunity for the state to benefit from local energy resources. And then the first question you asked, I think Henry really hit it well. We have a really promising development in the Unitil rate case. That is going to be heard by the commission next Tuesday. CPCNH was a signatory to the settlement agreement that included some, if it's approved and implemented, some strong commitments by Unitil to move forward and enable certain functionalities that would support CPCNH and other suppliers in serving net metering customers and being able to provide, dynamic and time of use rates and other innovative, demand management flexibility programs. So this is all very promising. Part of that is Unitil will be updating its advanced metering infrastructure to even more advanced meters that would, theoretically be able to do these things through Unitil's vendor. So that's very promising. For the other utilities, no other developments to report yet, but we're hopeful that if this is approved, this can provide a good, pathway for, the state and the other utilities to look at in terms of, modernizing their own systems and infrastructure in a way that can support greater market competition.
Great. Thank you, Dina, for that thorough explanation. And I'll just point out Nick put a blog article on this in the chat as well. So Paul and others, if you want to read all the details, we're trying to really do a good job of keeping up with key developments in the news section of our website. And, coming soon will be a market update and resources like for spring 2026, which covers some various topics like DAISY, the New Hampshire competitive landscape, POR, purchase of receivables, as well as this progress with Unitil. So looking forward to having that resource available for our membership and distributing it in the near future. Marnie, I see you have a hand up. Go ahead.
Helps to get off mute. Henry, congratulations. Henry, Jackson, Nick, thank you for those links. That was going to be one of my questions. Up here in Bethlehem, we are incredibly busy writing letters to our senators and representatives. Between CENH and the bills going on here and the fact that we're dealing with landfill, it's incredibly busy, and we're not all great users of ChatGPT yet. So my only request is that if there's a letter that's really critical, like for 1733, that could be sent, the more you can completely draft that ahead of time, the faster we can respond to it. Our select board has been very good at responding to our energy committee's request to send letters in. And, again, anything else that we can read to come up to speed, because on the side of the media communications challenges locally, it is, we find that we can't, let's see, how can I word this? We have a strong belief that the time is coming for the utilities to pay up for some of their, understated rates. But without information to say that to our town boards in some way, like, well, just wait and see because A, B, C, and D, they get impatient. And we're saying to them in good faith, this is a temporary situation, that CPCNH's rates are higher than Eversource, for example, up here. So anything you can do to help us bridge that gap before those guys have to pay the piper would be very, very helpful. for us. And here's the question. Is it fair to say that only Bo and Hudson, is it, have fallen out?
Yeah, thank you, Marnie. And just to speak to both of those, I think it's really well received and really valuable comment on support on communicating on some of these issues. And Jackson mentioned this market update that I think we're going to try to get out today, along with this action alert, and I hope a form letter on House Bill 1733. So I'll coordinate with the team for the remainder of the day today to get some of those resources out to the group. So very well said. I think you are sort of speaking for a lot of members in that um, request for um, helpful information on these topics. To your second question, at present, yes, Hudson and Bow are the two communities that we're going to work with to return them to their utility default service. Technically, Hudson is a member, and Bow, while not a direct member of CPCNH, is a participant with Merrimack County Community Power. And yes, at present, that is the extent of the communities that are returning to default service.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for all of that.
And before we go to Doria, I do just maybe, Jackson, can you speak to the messaging piece in terms of the market update and or action alerts, or somebody else on the team? Do I have that right, or do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you definitely have it right in terms of the action alert. We'll have form language within there that should make it very easy to directly utilize when contacting your senator or for seeking approval on comment. And in terms of the market update and resources, that is still a little bit of a work in progress. So we're going to try to get it out very soon. It might not happen today, but certainly by early next week.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, go ahead, Doria.
Hello, my name is Doria. If anyone here doesn't know me, I'm the vice chair of the organization. I just wanted to comment and kind of caution on blanket letters to the legislator. They do notice when everybody sends the same letter with the same wording, but with the different signature at the bottom, and that can dilute a message because they feel like one organization kind of got a bunch of communities to just like write the same thing, but they don't get the kind of information behind and like the personal aspect from each community as to why a piece of legislation is beneficial to them or why that piece of legislation might hurt them. And it might be more work on CPCNH's end, or maybe I'm trying to urge community members to put something personal in the letters, but just sending something that somebody wrote for you that they wrote for 100 other communities is often going to fall on deaf ears. So I would advise against doing that.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, Doria. And I think member services certainly supports to the extent that our membership is able to make it more personal to their community. That would be great. You know, we'll get you the standard form language, like I said, with the core issues being addressed, and then it certainly encourage you to utilize that and turn it into something more. And happy to be in coordination on that if you have any questions. Carol, I see you have a hand up. Go ahead,
Yes,
please.
can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Dina because Tuesday late she did give us a framework for a letter in support of the Unitil rate case. Hampton Falls is in Unitil land, and so at 8 o'clock the following morning I had a presentation to our selectmen, and I got full support for writing a letter of support for the settlement agreement. And it was a big help for me to frame issues. So I think everybody's working phenomenally well and wonderfully together for such a small staff. And I just can't say enough wonderful things. Thank you, Dina.
Thanks for that feedback, Carol. Much appreciated. And thank you for your efforts to act on these important issues as well. Marnie, I see you have a hand back up.
Just thank you, Doria. I couldn't agree with you more. We've been writing a lot of letters up here, but everyone has taken the time to add a personal note, do some rearranging. That's where ChatGPT comes in handy, frankly. But understanding the basics of it is really important, and I appreciate everything that you all are doing to make that easier.
Okay. Looking in the chat, not seeing any other questions at this point, but you can see Nick put in some directions for submitting remote testimony to the Senate. So feel free to check that out. Bruce Tucker, go ahead.
Hi, I thought I'd just give a quick update about the Peterborough's discretionary reserve fund. We're going to town meeting in May with a warrant article to establish a discretionary expendable trust account. And our current balance is $185,000. So we have big plans for that. And it's just one of the benefits that CPCNH is giving a town that decides to invest in their own renewable energy projects. But we're really happy about how this has turned out and look forward to more in the future.
Yeah, that's great, Bruce. Oh, go ahead, Henry.
No, I was just going to say thanks, Bruce. And I would definitely encourage other members, if you're interested in this discretionary reserve program or option, connect with Bruce or reach out to us and we'll get you connected with Bruce or talk with you directly about it. Nashua has also participated in that program, as has Cheshire County and the town of Canterbury. But yeah, Bruce, just appreciate you raising that.
While we're on the subject, Bruce, do you want to share some of Peterborough's plans for those
Sure.
funds?
Of course, it's dependent upon what the select board decides, but we are definitely disappointed that the new fire station didn't come with solar arrays in the budget. So there's a good chance that that will be the first use. It's either that or cracking off a little bit for the Eversource municipal demand response program, so to use a little bit for a battery storage component to that. So we've got a lot of work to do to flesh out what the system might look like. But one thing we did learn is that the building management system that is going into the fire station is compatible with the demand response program. It speaks the same language, so that's good news. So stay tuned. The fire station is a bit of a Taj Mahal, much to our I don't know, dismay, you might say, especially when the bonds have to be paid back. But we hope that by putting solar on the roof, will offset some of the operational costs, or a lot of it.
Great. No, thanks for sharing those added details, Bruce. That's really helpful. Go ahead, Doria.
Hi, well, since you all asked, maybe you didn't, I'd love to give an update on the City of Nashua's program, which functions very differently than Peterborough's.
Yeah, please do.
Awesome. So we have a program in place that will be launching in the fall called the Nashua Energy Coaching Program. We have chosen in Nashua not to fund internal projects with money kind of generated from our community power program. The goal is for funds to go back out to the community who have generated these dollars for energy efficiency upgrades. So our energy coaching program will have a rebate for customers that make it into the program to do energy efficiency upgrades. We will also be offering energy coaching classes in addition to New Hampshire Saves classes, specifically for Nashua residents to learn how they can take control of energy efficiency in their homes. So things that people might find to be very boring, but also extremely impactful, like additional insulation, heat pumps, appliance upgrades, and then venturing into the realm of renewable energy after the kind of boring upgrades are made, so that we teach residents in Nashua that it's good to do kind of the less interesting stuff first, like upgrading your insulation, heat pumps, all the energy efficiency projects before you take advantage of renewable energy assets. That's really the goal is to have people kind of become maybe not energy experts, but more knowledgeable about energy efficiency in our community so that they can take that information and tell their neighbors and tell their friends and kind of disseminate that about. So that's really the goal of the program. We're also applying for additional funding for more heat pump rebates. I'm not going to detail that because I'm not looking for any competition, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, that's the update on the City of Nashua's program. Also happy to answer questions about that along with Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you, Doria. Yeah, I'm really excited to continue to follow the developments of this program, and I think it's awesome that you're fostering your own really community energy champions through education and empowering them to utilize tools for their own spaces and spread the word. It's a really exciting initiative. So appreciate you sharing updates on it. Okay. Are there other topics, questions for Dory or Bruce, or other topics that folks want to cover in this session?
I don't know if Beth from Canterbury wants to share anything. I'm correct that Canterbury has also had one of these programs?
Sorry about the video. We do have the program. We last had it as the default when we were under utility prices. So we haven't accumulated a lot. We have less than 1,000 members or customers on Community Power. So we've got $5,000 in the bank, which is great. And it's going to be a while before we put that towards much of anything.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Beth.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I don't remember if this has come up in from Community Power. I've been following the bill that started last year to obliterate the Office of Consumer Advocates. That's been revised, and the Senate heard that bill and got a lot of testimony that the one line that said that the consumer advocate could be a lawyer, an engineer, or an economist has been modified to just being a lawyer. So hopefully that amendment goes back to the House and stays intact. I think that's what's best for all of us. Just an update.
Yeah, thank you for that update, Carol. Dina, I saw your hand went up as well. Did you have a comment on this subject?
Yes, and Carol, thank you so much for sharing that. We're really encouraged by that development and excited that the bill is in the form that it's in now. On the note of what Nashua and Peterborough are doing and what Canterbury hopes to do, I just want to remind folks that we do have a bill in the legislature. It came out of the Senate with unanimous support in January. It has crossed over. It will go to the House Science, Tech, and Energy Committee, likely to be heard sometime in early April. But this bill would clarify that municipalities can use revolving funds to support energy initiatives and things like efficiency programs and weatherization programs using funds from their electric aggregation programs. So this is just another tool in the toolbox for communities to do something with these funds and help support innovation and cost savings across their community. So we're excited where we've been able to get the bill so far, and we're hoping for equal support in the House. We'll keep you posted on that as soon as we get a definitive hearing date.
Yeah, that was a great segue into that, Tina. So yeah, it's awesome to see all the progress that's being made across a variety of areas, and we'll continue to work hard to keep you all informed.
Jackson, if I could just to wrap up a legislative update here briefly, one of
Absolutely.
our I guess our third of the trifecta priority bills for CPCNH, House Bill 1718. That's a bill that would authorize energy storage in connection with net metering. That bill came out of the House with strong support and unanimous support from the committee. Because of the fiscal note, it had to go to finance. It went unscathed in finance, and they had a unanimous recommendation of ought to pass with the amendment. And it's going on the consent calendar this coming Thursday. So that's great. That bill should, hopefully, fingers crossed here, but be heading over to the Senate sometime in early April.
Yeah, thank you, Dina. Yeah, lots of momentum right now. So we'll hope to keep working together to see some of this stuff through. Okay. Well, we're sort of approaching the hour here, so maybe the last call for any comments and questions.
This is Ken Traum. I'll just add on the comment on the consumer advocate bill. I had worked in the consumer advocate's office for a couple of decades, and I think it's important that the consumer advocate only be an attorney, even if it precluded me from becoming the consumer advocate during my tenure. And I was curious in Nashua for your special program, is there any kind of income limitations for eligibility?
We have chosen not to have an income eligibility, and for good reason. There's a lot of low, moderate income programs for energy efficiency, but it's kind of like those people who don't qualify for those, but also can't just up and do an energy efficiency project without some serious financial planning, or maybe they don't have $10,000 laying around because they don't qualify for the low moderate income program or something like that. We really want to get regular people with regular incomes into energy efficiency because we feel like there's a big gap there. And those people often feel underserved with that type of programming.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of like the missing middle with housing, right? All the housing issues that we talk
Yep.
about.
Yep, and it's like young people with kids or that just have like a dilapidated house. They scraped up just enough money to purchase, and their oil bill's like $800 a month, and they're paying crazy amounts for electricity. It's those people we really want to get to, um, and let's hope that we do.
Okay. Well, I think we've had a really productive conversation per usual. I really appreciate all the active participation we get in these sessions. It's one of my favorite things that I participate in as a staff member of CPCNH, and that's thanks to all of you showing up. So I hope that you'll continue to show up. We've got a great series of office hours planned actually over the next year. Some of those topics are subject to change as there's new developments that arise. But feel free to check out our office hours page and you can see what's in the hopper. So with that, I'll say thanks again and hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. We'll catch you next time.